Alright everyone, it's David Walker here, aka Pinky FPV. I've got a special surprise for you guys today. This is my first build video, so please bear with me. I'm still sort of learning the ropes of what to include and what not to include, so if there's any constructive criticism, please comment in the YouTube channel and I'll take it all on board. Obviously want to do the best build videos for you guys and the most informative, so that you can build your builds neat and superb, and neater than mine. Now I've got a special surprise here today. A couple of weeks ago now I went down to the Gold Coast and met a guy named Chris. He's over from China. He's actually the manufacturer of a sexy little quad frame. Most of you have already heard of it. It's the FURC Core. Now I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a picture. That is the box. Now this has some very neat little packaging on it. Very impressed by it. The way it comes is it's pretty much fully assembled. It comes with little plastic standoffs, and it also comes with, I will try and get it out for you guys so you can see. I don't want to show you the frame yet and give it away, so I'm going to cover that up for now. My build I've just finished, and then I thought I'll whack this video together because it was a quite complex build and there's a few little things that I'd like to point out. Now, just trying to get them all. I haven't found them all. I've obviously, I think there's two, oh there we go, there's two floating around in the box still. Now, this is the inside of the box. It's pretty boring because the frame's gone. This little bit holds the battery strap. It's wrapped around there and nice and tucked away. Very high quality battery strap. You have your two little camera discs. They are for your HS1177 style cameras, where I have used the Arrow version 2, so it's a little bit wider and I won't be needing that. So I chose to leave those discs out because it seems to lock in quite nice without it. Now you'll notice in this box, see the little nylon sort of washers. They're good for your standoffs. Now I've got heaps of these things, so I use them right now tomorrow, and I just replenish them with my supply. I have used them on my PDB. Now I have my build here. Sorry, getting a big ugly shot of my chin. I'm trying to do two things at once. Actually, I might even put this camera into a little clip. Some magnets here. I might just improvise for a second. Now, obviously I've already taken the frame out of this box, which I'll show you in a minute, but it's so nicely packaged. It even smells fresh when you open it. Now the first thing I'll show you is the camera holder. Alright, I don't know, hang on, try and get that so you can see. Get this light behind. Now I use the Arrow version 2, so the Fox ear, the voltage sensor at the back, and it fits in nicely. There's two little included discs that are in the packet with the frame. They're for your HS1177 style camera cases, with the Arrow and the 190s and stuff like that. Because it's a slightly bigger case, you don't need the little discs, and I find that it actually sits in quite nice without it. It's firm enough where you can move it if you want, but not by itself. Okay, even the battery strap, guys, now this is what I love. This battery strap just looks different. This looks one of a kind. Everything looks of the highest quality. Even the stitching and the silicone on the back doesn't feel like it can come off easy. So, alright. Yeah. I like to use a TBS unifier on most of my builds, and KISS. All my builds are always KISS. Now I'll get the frame, give you a quick rundown. Now this is 3/4 built. What I call 3/4 anyway. So I can actually bolt it all together until I had the orientation of the motors correct. So the way that I'm doing this is this will all get tucked into the arms. So the KISS 24s, this is actually designed to suit the KISS 24s and tuck straight in out of the way. A little bit of play with the wires just so I could alter anything on the ESC if I ever needed to without having to desolder everything. Just makes my life a little bit easier. I will tape the ends of these ESCs up. You notice how when I heat shrink I'll heat shrink all the power cables and the signal side, but I leave the motor side just off. I don't know if you guys can see that. Move my hand so you can have a better look. Cool. Now I'm doing this video in 720p, so it's probably not the best quality, but I thought it'll make the file slightly smaller for YouTube, and most of you guys will probably watch it from your phone anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now with this guys, I've chosen to use an FTDI adapter for the KISS flight controller. Because it's going to be so far down in the frame, there's no actual way to access the USB without unbolting it every time. So I've opted to put the FTDI adapter on and use little female ends of a plug. Hang on, I'll get this. So I will just have that hanging out my frame, which will be my FTDI adapter. So you only need the 4, the RX, the TX, which you reverse like usual to the FTDI adapter. Then you can actually use the 5 volt and the G&D next to the buzzer port. If you guys are using KISS, that is. Most of you guys will probably use Betaflight. Some will probably use KISS. This tutorial is pretty much for the KISS guys, just to show that it can all fit, and it can be a nice neat little frame. I've just got these Mr. Steel motors, so they will be a new test too. Now, forget what I was getting at. Oh yes, so the way I've done this is because pretty much your bolts go through this and through the frame. Your battery strap goes through the middle, and that little gap, comes up, bolts all that down. Camera sits on the top, like so. When you guys are building this frame, do remember the flat side is the front. It is a bit deceiving because just from looks you would think maybe the back would be the flat side, but it is actually the front, because when you put the lid on, the camera only faces that way. So if you, obviously you can't turn it because then it won't look right. Now with this pod too, I've got that little slot at the back, which I'm using I'm hoping this works out. I've got the Furious FPV antenna, you can see that. On the TBS, and there's still a bit of soot from doing the heat shrink. TBS Unify, that's not a race version, that's just the 5 volt full TBS Pro, and that will hopefully just slip straight in there. So straight in there like so, and down the actual side of the frame, and I'm hoping that it will sit like that, snug enough that it won't move, but loose enough so I can actually change the channel through this little hole. See how that goes to plan anyway. It's half of this hobby is tinkering, so That's what I love. Yeah. Also, I'm a Spectrum guy. Yeah, I know, boo-hoo, all you Taranis guys out there probably going, oh no. I like Spectrum. I've come from helicopters and 3Ds and 3D helis, planes, all that sort of stuff, so I like my DX9. I've had it since then and I've always stuck with it, and stick with what you know. I don't ever plan on flying kilometers away anyway, so yes. Now Skitzer, I noticed on his build he did put the receiver in one of the arms and actually ran the wire along with his frame, so it was very exposed, and he put antenna tube on it just to protect it and bend it out away from the props. That's a very good idea. I'll just bend this down a bit. Okay guys, I've hooked up to the GUI. I have checked my orientation with the motors. I had 3 of them correct and the 4th motor was backwards, so I had to reverse the wires around, which was the easiest option for me. It's technically what I always do. I just find it a bit easier than, unless I'm doing a really neat build where everything's exposed and visible and you want it to be all straight soldered. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to have a short break, have a drink, and I'm going to put some bolts through here, find out what standoffs suit. Now what I've actually done too, I forgot to mention, is this PDB is straight on the carbon fiber. Now I know what you guys are actually thinking, oh, it's going to short and all that. This actual type of PDB, this DAL RC one, is ideal in my opinion. If you can see, that's got this bit of coating, which is actually like a gasket which goes in between it all. So that actually gives it a little layer, and it goes right up to the holes, so when you poke your screws through, it sort of makes a new hole, so to speak. Yeah. Now that was the only way that I could work to get my whole stack low enough, because of this camera. This is the other thing I wanted to show you. Now when this goes on, like so, I'll just jam all this in there for now. Just roughly, I could probably, hang on a sec, take this receiver wire off just to make less clutter. Try and make it easier. Now that's on my FPV gear, my FTDI adapter. So once it's all down and tucked away in there, this will sit on the arms. Bloody thing. Bouncing around. Come on. Should have used a bit of tape to hold these out of the way for a sec. Talk to myself while I do this. Now you notice that the actual base of the camera comes down lower than the frame. So try and have a rough guess at what sort of angle you guys fly at. Obviously the more angle you fly at, the less it's going to come into the frame, so it all depends. Where I wanted to make sure that I could get any angle and it not hit anything. So I'm going to try and get that as low as possible. Now the wires are like a spaghetti junction in there. I have to neaten all this up. I'm usually quite OCD about my builds, but with this one I wanted to leave a little bit of extra length because I knew I'd have to work stuff around everything else, and I didn't want to leave myself too short and then have to try and sort of start all over again with the wire and unsolder stuff. So that's why I've optioned for the little bit longer wire. Whereas I probably, with the Dean's plug, I probably should have taken one out each arm just to make it less clutter through the one arm. If you guys can see that, I don't know if you can see in there. Trying to just show you guys an honest build sort of thing for an everyday Joe. It's not my first. I have done many builds, as you've probably seen my wall and my laboratory, as I call it, my drone lab. See if I can whack this up there. Now you guys are on top. Whoop. Okay, cool. So that pretty much is the packaging. Anyway, one of the best frame packagings I've seen. Anyway, this is the core. Now it's fully built. As you can see, I've gone with the FTDI option to the KISS flight controller. I've just left that there for tuning purposes and to make sure everything's running right, etc. Once I get it tuned, I can actually unplug that and tuck that cord back inside that slit, and it'll be all nice and neat. Now, I'm just trying to think. This is running KISS 24s, all KISS, with the KISS flight controller, D-Shot 600, all that jazz. I've just got these TBS motors, so I'm yet to try these out, so I don't actually know how they go. The way I've soldered the ESCs is I've soldered them so I can easily change the motors if need be. So if I don't like them or I'm not too happy with the performance, I can change them. Now I ran my XT60 through one of the back sides of it. You will notice that the front is actually flat and the sides and the back are round. So when you're building it, always make sure that you build it with the flat side at the front. Very easy mistake, and then you won't realise till you put your pot on and you'll go, crap. So hopefully that's one thing I can prevent you from doing. The other thing, I'll just turn this charger's just turned on by itself, start cooling itself down. It's not even charging, silly thing, mind of its own. Now, one thing I will say is PDB. Now I spoke to Skitzer and Addy how they did their builds. They said it's very, very tight. That's pretty much it. Skitzer said it's a backwards build. Now, he couldn't be more correct. It is completely backwards from the usual side of doing things. How you do your motors and your ESCs and do your wires to your flight controller and your PDB. So this one, you start with your PDB. You want to solder your excess wire on, so you give yourself room to trim and do all that. Solder all your power to your PDB, drop your PDB right down. Now I've optioned for you can't see it now because of the battery strap, but it's a Dell RC PDB, and it actually comes with like a little felt gasket where you can pretty much stick it to the back of the PDB once you finish soldering, and it prevents anything from shorting onto the carbon frame. Now, by lowering that PDB and pretty much laying it flat on the inside of the shell, I can then get enough height with all the camera, because the camera actually sits probably about that far into the frame, and you also have your receiver and your VTX to think about. Now the FTDI is obviously the best option, I think, unless you want to open it up and pull everything apart every time you want to plug it in and tune it and put it all back together. It's not really my style of things. I like to fly, tune as quick as possible, and enjoy for flying. Now this thing's ready to go. I just can't stop touching it. It's literally, the camera probably won't even do it justice. I'll see if I can get some close shots of this, because this is very, very neat. It's something you have to see in person. It's just one of those the feel of the carbon, it's just smooth, it's glossy, it feels very, very aerodynamic, like feels very strong, but very light. Very good. I'm very happy with it. Yet to fly it, so I can't say too much. I don't really want to jinx it. Now, I've used these. The other thing I will mention to you guys, now, it almost got me, and I had a very close look and I was like, hey, what's going on there? Because I thought I had two different size screws. Now, on the bottom of the motor mounts, don't know whether the camera can pick it up. I am just using a Session 5, guys, so it's probably not the best camera for this job, but there's actually two levels. So this right side is actually a little bit thinner than the left side. So make sure you use a little bit longer screws on there, or your normal screws on there, and then shorter ones on there, because you don't want to short the windings. Very important. Now, it's like that for all the arms. There's a little fold. It's quite noticeable in person. You can quite see with the naked eye that one side's higher and one side's lower. The other thing was I soldered all this up, I put it all together, I checked the orientation, before I put it all together, I checked the orientation of the motors to make sure they all spun the correct direction, and I had to reverse one, so I did that, and then I've bolted it all down. I disconnected it from the power, put the screws through, and I use the supplied black standoffs that you get in the kit, so they're just that size, and they are perfect. Also, guys, don't replace any of the bolts. Make sure you keep every bolt that comes with this kit. The bolts they use are titanium. They're like the highest class of titanium. That's just phenomenal. Even the feel of just, it's hard to explain, but you guys will know when you get one. They're just great. It's truly just a very high quality built frame. I really hope it withstands my punishment that I'm gonna dish to it. So alright guys, well that's pretty much it for me. There's not much really else I can think of to help you guys out with your build. Just have fun with it, really. Be patient. Good things come slowly. You know, I didn't rush this together all in one night. I thought about it and planned it out, and it's come together quite nice, I think. So can't wait to get some props on. If it wasn't this time, I would be so outside and going for a fly. But unfortunately, I don't think everybody would appreciate me ripping around, and night flying's not my style. I like to do it during the day, or legally. Sometimes. Nah, I'm pretty good, I think. Cool. Anyway, stay tuned. Any comments, anything else you guys think I can add or throw in, please leave your comments. And yeah, I hope to have another video up soon and see what we're building then. Thanks. See you later. Enjoy flying. And tickle my pickle.